If you're like me, it's a new year, you make some resolutions. And while I'll have to admit I'm not really great at keeping resolutions, one resolution or goal that I like to set for myself for the new year is organizing my life, my finances, my house, just everything about my personal paperwork. And that's a great topic that we're talking about today because organizing your finances is very important. If you want to know more about this, just stay tuned. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Scan FYI. Yeah, we're still in January, it's still a new year, no time like the present to sort of take control of your life. And my guest today is Tom Duffy. He is from Jersey Shore Financial Advisors in Tinton Falls, right?
That's correct.
And thank you for being with me.
My pleasure.
And so, you know what? Let me first say that Tom is a new sponsor to Scan. We're very excited to have you with us. And would you kindly just take a moment and give a brief description of who you are and what you do at Jersey Shore Financial Advisors?
Sure, Andrea. Thanks very much for the opportunity. So I'm the fiercely independent founder in 2007, actually a principal sole owner of Jersey Shore Financial Advisors. I founded my firm because I found it nearly impossible to do the right thing for clients when there was a complex corporate structure and all the sales pressure telling me what to do and not to do for clients. Working with me means having a guide with you to create a financial life plan that helps you live life looking forward without fear of making a mistake. And so many people are so concerned about, well, I won't do anything because that way I can't make a mistake. And I think that's faulty. I don't work for an insurance company or any investment firm. It's just me and you, my client. In fact, I'll put it in writing that I'm acting as a fiduciary and will always put your interest first. And I think that's probably the simplest way to describe what I do.
Now, if you want to know a little bit more about Tom or how to reach out to him, of course, all his contact info will be in the description. And even before we get into what we're talking about today, I do want to mention that Tom will be one of our speakers at our February 15th Lunch and Learn at Monmouth Mall. It's not too late if you want to sign up for it. And also, it's a great opportunity in a low pressure environment to meet someone who may be able to help you down the road. And that's always a good thing. All right, so Tom, new year, everyone likes to make a plan to get their act together, so to speak. Uh, you know, what do we need to do? We're talking now about getting our financial act
Certainly.
together, which
I was
takes
thinking
a
I
while.
got to clean out a closet. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah. I haven't even done that yet. But the thing is, there are just some major components to, kind of organizing your financial life, and it doesn't happen in 5 minutes either. So that's important
No.
to know. So what's the first thing we need to think about?
Well, one of the things that I'm concentrating on, certainly in the first quarter at least, if not into the second quarter of 2024, is taxes and income taxes. Not exactly everybody's favorite topic, but an important one nonetheless, because taxes, they cost us money, right? We've got to take money out of our pocket and send it to Washington, and they do who knows whatever they do with it down there. And so the idea is to try to minimize the amount of money that we send to Washington. And so, there are things, planning steps that folks can do to try to minimize their taxes. I know I've talked to folks over the years that have said, it is what it is, the income tax, and there's nothing I can do about it. Well, actually there is. There's a lot of things that we can do about it. And so I think it's important to take a proactive approach to making sure we're structuring and we're making decisions and structuring our assets to make sure that we are minimizing the amount of tax. I mean, there's no law against minimizing your taxes. So there's a fine line between minimizing your taxes and evading taxes, right?
Oh,
And the
we're not
fine line is
going
going to
there.
jail. And I'm not advocating that part. What I'm thinking is, well, we have this whole body of law, which is huge. Let's use it to our advantage if we can.
Yeah, we're not saying you're not going to pay your taxes, but maybe you can
Definitely
pay
not. Definitely
less.
not.
No, no, maybe you can pay less. So
Wouldn't that be
more
great?
more in your pocket, which I think is a great idea.
Hmm. So
But something
either
like that,
either
though.
more in your pocket or more to pass on to the next
Oh,
generation.
yeah, right,
I have plenty of folks that's what we're working on, is trying to not just minimize their lifetime tax bill, but once those assets transfer to the next generation, because we don't want them to have a huge tax bill either. And
right.
so that it's a generational kind of plan.
Don't think, oh, I don't have a tremendous amount of money to pass on to my heirs. I think no matter what you have, you want to maximize what you can pass on to others.
I
Totally.
agree. Oh, I
Yeah.
totally agree. I mean, I often try to describe wealth, right? Because folks will say, "Oh, I can't use a financial planner or financial advisor. I don't have enough money to do that. You know, that's only for the rich people." Well, you know, wealth is relative, and I always talk about wealth as whatever your money is. That's all the money you're ever going to have. Theoretically, you want it to last as long as you do, if not a little bit longer into the next generation. And so there's no reason why you shouldn't try to take advantage of the best thinking of a professional who's been doing this, in my case, for almost, well, I guess it is 30 years, trying to make sure that we're thinking about all the possibilities, not just the income tax, the investment markets, and I'm super focused on long-term care issues. We're going through that in my household now.
Hmm.
And so, those kinds of things, to make sure that we're thinking about all those, you can't do them in silos. Unfortunately, that's too many folks out there. It's a silo. Oh, I have an insurance agent. I do my own investments, and my lawyer did my estate planning, and nobody's talking to anybody. Nobody knows what's going on the other side of that fence. And that oftentimes creates big problems. So I try to be, the coordinator in that area.
All right, that's a good, I like looking at it that way because honestly, it's like when people go to a doctor and you go to five different doctors and they're
Yeah,
not coordinating your care either. In a
right.
sense, you're coordinating people's financial care, their
Yep,
financial health. I
yep,
I like that metaphor.
yep.
Well
That's
done.
that's exactly right. Because like my dad, he rides around with a big 5x7 card with all his medications on it. And the flip side is all the times he's been to the emergency room and all that stuff. So whenever he sees any medical professional, he just hands him his card, says, "Here's what's going on now." And now they all know, because if everything was in a silo, oh my goodness, it'd be a disaster, more of a disaster.
Well, I like that. That's actually a very clever way. I think we all understand that. Absolutely. You're the coordinator. All right, so what else do we have to think about even now regarding our Social Security and Medicare?
Sure. Well, there's always some planning steps there. We've got some the income surcharge. If our income is too high, for Medicare Part B surcharge, that's something we always got to think about. And they couldn't make it easy. It's based on income 2 years ago. What is it? What's the impact today? Well, 2 years ago is gone. Okay, good. Well, let's make sure we don't do something this year that 2 years from now is going to continue that problem. So again, trying to make sure we're thinking about that. And so the things that impact your income are obviously if you sell some property, you sell assets, you sell your Bitcoin and have a big gain. Those kinds of things have an impact. If you do a Roth IRA conversion, converting IRA assets to Roth assets, that's a taxable event, and that adds to your taxable income in the year that you do it. And that might have a negative impact 2 years from now, especially for Medicare. And you just have to evaluate, okay, well, what's the surcharge going to be? Because we know the numbers. And so we say, okay, well, what's the impact in the big picture? Is paying, and I'm going to say, a little bit extra on Medicare. I don't necessarily mean a little bit. It can be a lot, but does that mean we should not do Roth conversions, right? Because in a lot of cases, a conversion from a IRA to a Roth IRA, that's not for us. That's for our kids. We're paying the tax so that our kids don't have to pay that tax. And so, that's the way oftentimes I look at that, because most of us, we're going to be forced to take our IRA money out, the required minimum distribution rules, right? They keep making them later and later, but they don't give us
Right.
more
At some
hours,
point, though, you're
more
gonna,
years to live on the other end. So
yeah.
they're compressing the distribution period, which means that the income is higher. Well, if the income's higher, that means the tax is higher. Okay, so waiting until 73, maybe not the right strategy, just because they let you. Maybe we should be taking it out at earlier ages and try to manage that total tax instead of waiting till the end and paying a much higher tax, and or doing some conversions to try to say, okay, I'm going to pay the tax so that my kids don't have to. And that, for some people, that's a significant draw. And we know what the tax rates are today. We know what the tax rates and brackets will be next year. We have a pretty good idea what they'll be in 2026 with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expiring. For many of us, that our taxes will go up in 2026 just because that act expires. So maybe we want to plan for that. If we're in a lower bracket environment today, well, then maybe we should take more money out of our IRA, pay the tax at a lower rate so that we don't have to pay a higher rate later. And we call that tax planning. It's just, it's just a matter of taking a look at all the numbers and deciding, okay, what's our priority? How much are we willing to pay today to avoid paying more sometime later?
That's an intense conversation, because
It sure is.
I do feel like a lot of people make the assumption, and I hate that word, that, everything is going to be status quo in your Social Security and your Medicare, et cetera. It's not like that, unfortunately. I wish, right?
Right. It's not. And that's, no decision is a decision. And unfortunately, a lot of people say, oh, I'm not going to deal with it until I have to. Okay, well, that's like, that's letting the IRS or the Department of Labor or the New Jersey DMV make your decisions for you. Never a good idea to let somebody else make those decisions for you. I think, you should be working with a professional that'll help you understand what the decisions are and what the numbers look like reasonably. I have a crystal ball here in the office somewhere. It's been out of order since I got it. So,
Maybe it just needs batteries.
maybe, but it's always been out of order. So I can't predict the future, but I can look at things and say, well, if this scenario happens, that's what it'll look like. Well, if this scenario, that's what that will look like. You get to decide which way you want to try to target, and then you make some decisions. And then have somebody, I kind of think of myself sometimes as a thinking partner, say, okay, let's think about this from a different perspective. Let's think about this from the long range cumulative amount of income tax, not just the rate today. Many, dare I say, most tax preparers, they're worried about minimizing the tax bill today with not just blinders, but they're putting it in front of their face, like, oh, I can't even think about the future. We don't know what tax rates will be in the future. Well, I disagree. We know what the tax rates are going to be in the future. I happen to think our tax burden will be much higher for many of us in the future because the amount of debt we're piling up in Washington. That's a whole other conversation. But
That's another show.
yeah,
Right.
that's a whole other show from the bomb shelter. But the idea that our collective tax burden is going to be lower sometime in the future, I think that's wishful thinking. And so, paying the tax today at a known rate, again, I don't mean paying all of it, but I think that's important that we at least consider what are the possibilities and then make a decision. And the decision could be do nothing, but at least it's an informed decision at that point.
So one of the things that I get from this, Tom, listening to you, is that you would make an excellent brainstorming partner when
Yep.
with your client, because I feel, like I'm like a regular person. I don't have tremendous assets, but I have assets. I have a condo, and I am working, etc. And you just think you want to do the best for yourself, and there's a lot of things that your average person like me is not aware of. And I know a lot of people, I hear, oh, I do my own research on the internet. Okay, how's that working out for you? I think it's a lot more well, productive to do your research by having a conversation with someone like you who actually does know. And even though you might think, well, I don't have a lot of money, it's not worth speaking to a financial planner. I mean, everything you're talking about is really planning. And
Right.
I think most, what is that expression? We It's not that we don't
But
plan
we
to
don't plan to fail. We just fail to plan. That's
we
what you're
fail to plan,
right,
and
right.
that's flashing through my eyes, my head
Mhm.
right now,
Well,
listening to you.
well, you're absolutely right, Andrew. Think of it this way. Folks think about wealth, and I said this before, it's all relative. But
It is
if
relative,
you
yeah.
own a home in New Jersey, there's a pretty good chance that you are wealthy by somebody's definition,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because with housing prices today, at staggering levels, irrespective of whether they're worth that to somebody, to a knowledgeable buyer, it doesn't matter. That's still what they're worth. So having an asset like that, and if you've got a little bit of retirement money put aside, and you have this income stream, right? Your Social Security is coming in, and folks that have a pension that are coming in. Maybe they were a government employee or a teacher. Those folks, they have an income stream that's a value. And so, making sure that I love the idea that folks that have done that research that you mentioned online, they've gotten a lot of research, but it's the synthesis. Well, that's a big word, right? Of trying to figure out, okay, but how do these all things work together? I researched
How do they
this
apply to me?
right. How does this Medicare IRMA thing and the Roth IRA sounds like a great idea? Can I open a Roth IRA? Can I, how does that all work? And and where does my accountant or my tax preparer figure into all this stuff? So they need and you mentioned it, a thinking partner, somebody that's going to actually do the thinking with you to figure out what is it you have to do. So many of my, and I'll use the term loosely, colleagues in financial advisory, financial planning. Oh, I gotta be careful here. So many of them are in sales. And
Yeah,
there I said it. Their job is to sell something. And their title says financial advisor because they're allowed to call themselves financial advisor. But their job really is to sell any number of products, life insurance, annuity products, long-term care insurance, all those things, which are excellent tools if used appropriately. When they're sold, because that's how the person gets paid.
commission.
Yeah, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But when they're calling themselves a financial advisor and they say, Andrea, I'm doing your financial plan by selling you this policy, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. That I'm doing financial planning by selling you this policy. I beg to differ. That's not financial planning. That's financial sales. And so, the idea that we can think together and think through the possibilities, the variabilities, the what if we do this, and what if the market does that, and what if my spouse dies, tomorrow? Well, what's the financial impact of all that stuff? And then figure out, okay, is there some tool, is there some product that helps alleviate some of that financial loss, the financial risk? Then we bring the product in. So many folks, they bring the product first. They say, oh, I got this great annuity. Andrew, this annuity would be perfect for you, not knowing anything about you.
And this is what I do here when I've had, like a lot of people, you get things in the mail, people approach you, and the first thing is I have something for you to buy.
Yep.
Without even understanding my circumstances. And I guess if you're listening out there, what you're getting, like what I'm getting from this is you need someone who really personalizes your plan. And that can only happen if someone takes the time to have a conversation with you.
Right.
And
Imagine you
that's,
went to the doctor and the first thing the doctor says, okay, Andrew, get up there on the table. We're going to cut you open. Right? No blood
yeah,
pressure, no vital signs, just open you
let's
up.
just do
Whoa,
it.
wait,
Let's
why are
just
you
do
opening
it.
me up? Well, I'm a surgeon. That's how I get paid. I don't get paid to take your vital signs. I don't get paid to do a diagnosis. I don't get paid to cut. Oh my goodness. Right? We would never accept that. So that's oftentimes the problem that we see with the financial industry as a whole. And so what makes the difference is, so somebody like me, I didn't say it before, but I'm a fee only planner. And a fee only planner, we charge a fee to give advice. We don't sell anything other than our brain power. And so, I keep saying a thinking partner and the planning
I
and
like that.
doing the evaluation to say, okay, well, if you convert so much assets from IRA to Roth IRA, given all your other stuff, here's what your tax bill would be. And here's the difference. What do you want to do? That's financial planning, as opposed to somebody that comes in and says, Andrew, I got this great variable annuity that's got, bells and whistles, and you'll get better gas mileage. It'll cure halitosis and all kinds of manner of things that even the salesperson doesn't understand how they work. The big difference. And that oftentimes is where folks kind of run into they run into the wall, so to speak, because we were having this great conversation and they say, Tom, this is great stuff. I love the idea that you're going to help me figure out my stuff. And then we said, but I don't want to pay you your fee to do it, because the last guy I worked with didn't charge me anything. I don't think you should charge me anything. And I have to have that conversation. I said, well, the last person was selling you something. They got paid by the insurance company to sell you that product up front.
Right.
How much did that salesperson get paid? Well, I have no idea. I said, okay, well, depending on what you bought, I can kind of back into what it was. I can figure that out for them. And oftentimes it's a lot more than what I charge to do a financial plan. And so that's the problem, is that, for so long, for the almost the entire history of financial planning, it's always been done on a sales commission basis, that, somebody will, that because they have that third party compensation coming from the insurance company to do something
Right.
for you here, that, we're up against it, as it were, when we try to explain to folks, no, you pay me a fee. I'm going to do all this work. When I do financial planning, I do cash flow. I want to know where every $5 bill goes. I want to know where all your assets are. I want to see the declaration pages from all your insurance policies. I want to see how you're covered. I want to see how your accounts are titled. I want to see how they're owned. Do you own them jointly? Do you own them separately? Are they transfer on death? I want to see the beneficiary designations on your IRA accounts. I want to see all this minutia, which to most people is like, what do you need all that for? That's because I'm doing your financial plan. I need to know what all this stuff is. Oh, it's just a simple will. We had it done years ago. Okay, that's fine. Then you should have no problem letting me read it. Because when I read it, come to find out, it's going to mention your first wife, or it's going to treat your children as if they're minor children and they're not. And if it's a healthcare power of attorney or some other type of power, now I'm an attorney, I can't give legal advice. My daughter's the lawyer, and if I give legal advice, I'm in deep, what. So this is not legal advice, Julia, not legal advice. But if you have a power of attorney that's more than 5 or 6 years old, chances are the medical providers, they may not accept it because it's too old. It may not have the right language in there from the health, what's the HIPAA regulations. There's all kinds of privacy stuff in there. If the right language isn't in there, think like a hospital lawyer. They're not going to accept it because they're like, this is no good. This is too old. And so, when I ask people to provide me all that, it's just a simple will. I leave everything to my wife. Okay. But is that the right way to do it?
Nothing is simple.
Okay, well, we're either doing this or we're not. That's kind of the way what it comes down to, is we're either going to do financial planning completely or we're not going to do it. Because for me, if I can't get all that information, I can't do my job. It's, again, go back to the doctor. Imagine you went to the doctor and they started taking your blood pressure. No, get that cuff off of me. I don't want you to know what my blood pressure is. All right, we'll get up on the scale. Not a chance. Right? Okay, well, how do they write the right prescription amount for whatever you want them to fix if they don't know how much you weigh?
Or, I'm thinking you go to the eye doctor and he wants you to read the eye chart and you say, oh, I don't want to read that.
I'm not going to read that chart. Just tell me just give me my glasses.
Oh my God.
But
so it's a little more complicated than I think a lot of people understand. But the beauty of it here is that you have the ability to make it a lot more comfortable for people. And that's the beauty of a financial plan.
Yeah, I hope so. And it's just a matter of, thinking it all the way through. Like, what is our objective? Yeah, we want to minimize our taxes today and into the future. We want to make sure that, if God forbid one of us, if it's a couple, if one of the spouses needs, care, we want that care to happen in the home. Great. How do we pay for that? Who's going to provide that? I can't tell you, Andrea, how many times people say, oh, my daughter will take care of me. Okay, that's great. Where does your daughter live? Michigan. Is your
Has anyone spoken to your daughter? I know,
right.
I know.
Get her on the phone. I want to talk to her. Does your daughter work outside the home? Of course she does. She's an executive at a pharmaceutical firm. Fantastic. How is she going to do both of those things? Right? How old are your grandchildren? Oh, they're about to be teenagers. Great. What happens when they're teenagers? Activities, play, sports, all that stuff. And you think your daughter's going to quit her life to come take care of you? I don't doubt that she won't. She
know what?
absolutely
I
will. But is
think
that what you want for your daughter?
there's a lot of wishful thinking, and again, the point is we don't always think it out 100%. And by the way, when you have a consultation with Tom, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of laughing in a good way. In a good way.
It's either laughing or crying. There are tissues here, so
They're very close together, laughing and
yes,
crying.
that's right. That's true. That's true. They're both.
Well, I'll remind everyone that February 15th at our Lunch and Learn at Scan at the Monmouth Mall, Tom Duffy is going to be one of our feature presenters. You'll have the opportunity to hear a much more in-depth presentation, and also you'll have an opportunity to meet him in person and, see what's right for you. You
Mhm.
never know if you don't make an appointment and, give it a try.
Right. I'm not right for everybody.
No, but nothing is right for everyone.
Right.
But, at SCAN, we're all about providing community resources. And this is just another community resource. You might not need it, but you might know somebody else who does. And that's what it's all about, folks, public education. All right, Tom Duffy, Jersey Shore Financial Advisors, thank you so much for being my guest today.
My pleasure. Let's do it again.
We will do it again, and we'll
Okay,
do
good.
it on February 15th too.
Fantastic. I can't wait. I'm
All right,
holding my stand up.
So remember out there, if it's important to you, it's important to us. I'm Andrea Tarr, and we'll see you next time on Scan FYI. Bye, everyone, and bye, Tom.